Thanks for coming, everybody. It's just the post All-Star break, chance to answer any questions anyone may have heading into this stretch. Obviously, it's been an interesting first half of the season. I know we're past the first half mark, but I think this serves as sort of the de facto first half signal for us, and chance to convene here and go through that and anything else anyone may have. Obviously, we signed Connor Timmins to a 2-year contract extension today, average annual value of $1.1 million. That's sort of the news of the day, and we'll get back to practice here shortly and head to Columbus for the beginning of a home-and-home with them. So I'll open it up.
As you look towards the trade deadline and all that, what is the trade market like, and do you imagine you're going to add something big, something small, something at all?
I think with where we're at as a team, and just in where we sit as a franchise, you look at everything, right? Is there whatever way we can improve the team, we'll look to do that. I think with the exception of goaltender, up front and on D, if there's a way that we can improve the team and give ourselves a better chance to make a run at it, then we'll do that. Some of it, I think the larger focus is always on the bigger names, but we have to look at the people who may improve us overall and not just the big names per se.
If it comes down to something like Kyle, where one thing you can do, given restrictions or whatever, have you identified something over something else in the top 6 winners?
Yeah. Well, I think at the beginning of the year, Terry, especially when Muzz went down, the focus, I think, shifted automatically to defense. But then, we then accumulated a lot of injuries on D, and all of those respective players really stepped up. And we've missed TJ Brody for long stretches. Obviously, we've missed Muzz for all but 4 games. We've missed TJ Brody on 2 different occasions for long stretches. We've had Morgan out for a long stretch. Really, the only guys that have consistently been in have been Gio, Hall, and Sandin, and Liljegren missed a bit of a stretch as well. So, Connor Timmins has come in and done well. Our depth guys have stepped up and they've done well. But with them doing that, and I think also the way the team played as a whole defensively, missing those players, it sort of opened it up to say we do feel somewhat comfortable with the group. If we can improve it, of course, we'll do that. But also shift the focus from just singularly on the back end to the overall team and how we can improve that.
Where do things stand with Muzz? Is he going to play hockey?
I think there's no change from the last update, Josh. It'll be he has an appointment coming up here in the next stretch of weeks. I think mid-February. Was in about 2 weeks. I think we'll have an update of where he stands, and then we'll have an update internally just for the remainder of the season in terms of what his condition is going to be and whether he's going to get back at it or whether that's not possible.
We can all see the standings with where you are with Tampa. The last 30 games, how this team can best prepare itself for that eventual matchup.
Yeah, I think our hope and how I look at it is. We have to control those 30 games that we play, and we have to put ourselves in the best, regardless of who our opponent is and where we're at. We have to, number one, we have to secure our spot there. I think the minute that you start to take your focus off of being at your best night in and night out, and competing night in and night out, like you see now, they're firing on all cylinders and they're coming. Buffalo, they're coming. Ottawa went into the break hot and they're rolling along. Detroit's had those stretches as well. So I think the minute that we start to lose our focus is the minute that we're going to really start to give it back, and that's not what we want to do. Our hope is to continue to chip away at it, put together a strong month here, and then stack that on with next month and see if we can chip away at the lead that Boston has. And I think, as everyone knows, Tampa's right there on us. So we can't take anything for granted for a second, especially in this division in this conference.
Kyle, a few years back, Alex Anthopoulos was on the last year of his deal with the Blue Jays. He basically traded the farm to make a big splash in a playoff run. Mm-hmm. You're kind of in the same boat. Mm-hmm. How are you approaching your final few months? Yeah,
no different than I ever would. I think anyone who knows me well enough truly would know that I think everything I look at is what's best in the short and long run for the organization and for the people that are there. So as I said at the beginning of the year, it's not about me and my status, it's about what's best for the team, and that's what we'll continue to look at. I'm not treating it any differently than any other day.
How badly do you want to stay in Toronto?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, Toronto's been great. It's great for my family, and I think more than anything, it's the people here are. I love coming in every day and working with the people. So, I never take for granted a day working in the league in any role whatsoever. And Toronto's been great for our family, and we'll. I don't focus on the end of it. I just focus on every single day giving my best for everybody inside the facility.
When you look at assets that you have right now to trade, if need be, first round pick, a Matthew Nice, is there anything that's off the table, non-negotiable, or are you open to whatever the situation might call?
Yeah, I think the answer that one can give to that question might be a little deceptive. I think at every single trade discussion that we have, we're at the part and where we're at as a franchise where can't necessarily say no to anything right off the hop. Having said that, there are some players and some draft pick capital that we have that are extremely valuable that would be hard pressed to move on from. Not just the one player mentioned, but a whole group of prospects or younger players off our roster. So. I think in regards to rentals, I can't see that happening. But with regards to other options, I don't think you say no off the hop to anything. But those are very important pieces to us for now and in the future.
What impact could Nice make if he signs?
Pardon me?
What impact do you feel Nice could make if he signs this season?
Yeah, I think our primary focus, Mark, with Matthew has always been like he decided last year he wanted to go back and he wanted to win a national championship. So our major focus is not so much trying to figure out what can he bring right away. I mean, it's very rare that a college player leaves and then right away jumps in and makes a huge impact. So I want to temper that a little bit, but also keep the main focus on him helping the University of Minnesota and then making his decision on what he wants to do as a pro. He's obviously very physically gifted, and he's with a great program there at Minnesota and playing on a great line and the number one team in the country. So my major thing that from what we could see from him right now is, can he help them win the Big Ten regular season, Big Ten championship, and then win a national championship? And it's a hard thing to do, and I think it'd be great for him as a prospect.
Connor,
concerned are you with
today,
and your level of confidence in Joseph Wall?
Well, I think Matt got back out skating today. He'll go on IR just because we just need the roster space, and he's past the 7-day window. But I think the thing with Matt is that he had an injury early in the year, came back and played great for us. So this will let him get to work with Curtis Sanford and get back rolling. It's not a huge concern. I think it's not a huge concern for the reason that you stated. Number one, I think Matt's going to come back in great form. But number two, Joe has come off his injury at the end of last year, Lance, and I mean, he's I think 14-1 now with the Marlies, save percentage over .930, All-Star in the AHL, named the top goaltender in the skills competition at the All-Star game. So Joe's been a guy that's put in a lot of work and a lot of effort and been a great lesson for us in goaltender development. Sometimes it takes time and patience, and with his work ethic and his attitude, it's been great to see him, and obviously he's likely to get in action here on the weekend for us. So that'll be a lot of fun to see him back in net again. He had a good stretch for us last year. So
you got a lot of pending UFAs, Michael Bunting among them.
Yep.
How goes contract talks with some of those guys?
Yeah, I think, as you know, I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of any discussions.
Would you hope that you get a few signed before the end of the season?
I don't necessarily put any emphasis on that, Kevin. I think with where we're at, I think we're going to the year. We've got a lot of cap flexibility, and I think we want to see what the rest of the year brings before we commit to anything necessarily. And I think we've got great relationships with all those players and their representatives, and they know very clearly where we're at and us with them. I think you'd always like to have that, Jonas. I think you'd always like to have someone like Muzz that's able to defend the other team's best players, defend very hard. I think TJ Brody has really stepped up this year, in my opinion. Not that he's been everything we thought we were getting when we signed him in 2021, but this year especially when he's been in, I just think defensively he's added so much to our group. And been able to take on those hard minutes and really play really well defensively, and kind of like he just knew it's time for me to step up in that absence. And Morgan, I think he was playing extremely well for us before he got injured, and then like with anything coming back, it's taken some time. And now in the last stretch, I think Morgan started to get back to what he's fully capable of as well. And I think someone else that's to me defensively stepped up has been Timothy Liljegren. So Hall's been solid with Gio. They had to take on a lot in that stretch when everyone kind of went down as the top pair. And I, so would I love to have that element? Of course I would. Do I think our guys have stepped up to fill it by committee? I do. So I know that's not really a direct answer that you may be hoping for, but these are complex and really not binary situations, right? But I think I'd always love to have that. Just a matter of how readily available it is and what the value is in getting it.
Also, Austin's out there in a red sweater, just minimum 3 weeks before. What are we looking at? And also the fact that you guys have a lot of non-playoff teams, does it give you a little bit more runway in the next little bit to your opponents?
Well, I would like us to play really well against the non-playoff teams. Those are important points for us. And frankly speaking, I think we've been a bit better this year, but these are areas where I'm looking to see growth from our team, right? And going back to the previous question about what the rest of the stretch means, you're always looking for signs of growth, and I think this is a stretch for us to do that. These are important games for us. They're 2 points every night, whether we're playing Boston or Tampa or playing teams that are currently outside the playoff picture. So these are important for us and our own growth. And then with regards to Auston, I think it's good to see him back on the ice and skating, but we're going to be very cautious, obviously, with him and where he's at. And he's obviously non-contact today. He'll need to be in contact before he gets back in.
How do you think your bottom six stacks up to Tampa's and Boston's?
Well, I think we haven't seen it in its full form yet. I think what I've seen of late on that front, Luke, has been the line with Kampf and Engvall, regardless of who's been with them on the other wing, has really begun to play well and build some momentum for themselves. And the fourth line, we've really tried to give our own internal players a lot of opportunity. Alex Steeves is there now. Pontus Holmberg's back up in there. Kerf was down. It just shows his sort of versatility. Alex Kerfoot, he was down there. Now he's up in the second line with Auston out. But I mean, for me, I'd like to continue to see some growth from our own guys with the Marlies that have been given opportunity and chances there, and really see them start to run with it. I think Joey Anderson, this season especially, but this current stretch, shows how competitive and strong he's been in those tougher games, like the game in Boston before the break. I thought he was one of our best guys at winning pucks, winning possessions low against their defense, and allowing us to get set up in the offensive zone and get rolling. So just continued growth from that group, and looking for guys to really, Alex Steeves is going to get his go here. Guys, this is your chance to take advantage and run with it. So I would like to see where we're at with that before we start to look externally.
So it's no secret that it's hard to make trades in the NHL. You're a little jealous of your NBA counterparts when you see all the moves that get made at their trade deadline compared to this one.
It's a different beast. I think. I mean, I follow the league, but not closely. If I don't really, the valuation of the picks, I think, is a little bit different in the NBA as well. Just in terms of what you can expect if you're picking lower in the first round. I don't know it well enough, but I guess there's a little bit of jealousy though.
We'll take 2 more questions. Have you had discussions about what extending your time here would look like, or is it something you're leaving until the end of the season?
No, I think, like I said at the beginning of the year, I don't want to get into that publicly, and I understand and respect the question, but it's not something that I think I want to get into publicly. I want to be about the team and about the people that are here every day and doing what's right for them.
What have you learned about the group this season that leads you to believe that this could be the group that gets over the hump?
I think just the continued growth. I think the thing, Mark, that I've learned this season is the group has a much better ability to recover when we have disappointing nights. The team, I think we might lead the league in man games lost due to injury, but it's the thing that's I'm bringing that up not to build in any sympathy, but I'm bringing it up in your example to answer you on growth, which is it's never come up in the building. I didn't know about it until yesterday when someone outside the team sent it to me as sort of a kudos thing to the group, which I never thought of, and I think that's a huge sign of growth. I felt early on and in the past, we would, whether it was back-to-backs or injuries, those would be crutches that would enter into the psyche of the team, and I don't feel that way at all. I find that when guys have gone down, other players have stepped up. The team as a whole has stepped up defensively in terms of the forwards, committing more to the group. I find that the leadership is much more open to taking criticism and seeking out criticism for how they can be better and pushing one another. So I think it's just slow and continued growth, which is not the big moments that I think draw a lot of attention that people want to point to, but it's just the reality of what it's like to grow as a young group of players trying to push each other and get better in a really difficult circumstance. In a tough division, they know that the competitors are going to be very tough when we get there, and they're tough every night because we've played Tampa twice, we played Boston 3 times. The margins are razor thin, save for the last Boston game. The game's been very, very close, and that's a good amount of pressure, and these guys have seemed to be stepping up and reacting well to it.
Just on Matt, did you have a rough timeline on his return, Matt Murray?
I think it's going to be as was announced. I think it'll be a couple of weeks from now. But I haven't checked in with them after the skate, so I don't know definitively.